How do you see this balance between including these larger multinationals into this movement, making sure that we are really serious about the intentions, we avoid greenwashing? It's a very delicate balance. How would you address this question?
Basically, we have no choice. If we want to have the impact that we should be having, we need to include larger company. We need to make these beautiful ideas and powerful ideas mainstream, because it is only then that we will be able to give the scope and the power and the extent to the movement that it deserves and that it should be having if we want to be useful. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. So I think this is the way to go. Now, how to go about it? Of course, it always has its dangers and we should be vigilant. I guess it is about commitment to a journey. And when you are in a board of directors and audit committees, there is a word you hear very much, which is tone at the top. And I think it's very important to engage with companies when the tone at the top is really supportive. You can start with a coalition of the willing and people in different departments, sustainability departments, starting to talk to us and engage and come to conferences. At some point, when you bring a large company in, you need to make sure that the CEO, but also the board is committed to talk about it externally, and not to talk about it as talking about a medal. Well, I'm a wonderful person, we're a wonderful company because we're part of this club, but as talking about a journey and admitting that none of us is perfect, but what we want is to be on that journey, and we recognize that we have this radical interdependence, which we talked about in Rome, and that this is about leaders, about people inspiring people and people challenging constructively and supporting each other. If you have this commitment and tone at the top, and also this willingness and humility to say, we're not perfect, and we won't be perfect tomorrow, and the problem is extremely complicated, but we are going to build collective intelligence, and we're better off together than alone, then I think that the risks are limited.
Family business and foundations generally can think more long-term. You have been and you are involved with companies that used to be family business. Perhaps they became, quoted on the stock exchange. They are a bit of a hybrid. How do you see this question of ownership relating to the engagement of multinationals on this transformation?
So first of all, I've always found, and this is why at some point I actually really made my choice to work in such companies, that the company that is listed on a stock exchange and at the same time is family controlled or foundation controlled is a bit the best of all worlds. It does get the challenge, the benchmark, from the external world, and at the same time, it does have the support of a shareholder, and it does have the way to discuss a strategy with either a human being or a foundation. But I've always struggled a bit with the financial market wants. I mean, I don't know what the financial market is. It's not a person. I think it could be an excuse. It could also be huge pressure for leaders. So I love these settings where you have someone to talk to, and you can agree or disagree. You can fight pretty hard even sometimes, but you have someone to talk to, and you can talk about legacy, about transmission, about history, and have a real dialogue. And dialogues happen between people. It doesn't happen with the system or the market. So I do feel that family or foundation controlled company can really lead the path and can really show the way. And if you look at a number of our countries, there are actually pretty large companies that still retain a good dose of family, if not control in the consolidation sense of the term, of real serious influence. So there are quite a lot of beautiful companies out there where you can find the person, the shareholder that is going to be able to actually tell the leader, well, I'm giving you a bit of a safe harbor. Not a safe harbor not to be good, not to be profitable, but a safe harbor to actually manage this tension between profitability, sustainability, people, planet, profit. Because I'm convinced that you do not have to sacrifice any of the three, people, planet, profit, but you cannot maximize all of the three together.
What about the composition of these boards? Questions of gender, of young people, how do you see that?
So it's a matter of composition, and definitely in the past decade, the composition of the board has become much more intentional in terms of balance. We're not there yet, but in terms of gender balance, origin, trying to reflect where the company actually has its activities, at least in the boards of the large companies where I worked and where I'm part of the board now, I can see that it's very intentional and it's very carefully crafted. That's important. What I feel might be even more important is how you build from this group of people. Usually they can assume that they're smart enough because they've done something professionally before they got on that board. But how do you actually transform this individual intelligence into collective intelligence? A board comes together, 6, 8 times a year. So if there is not really a willingness to build this collective intelligence, it just doesn't happen. And I would say it's a lot on the shoulders of the chair of the board, but every board member has a responsibility. And that is what I take back from these events. Marcello, at the end of each event, I come and I hug you and I say, thank you so much. And it's changed my life. Every time it brings me this energy and say, okay, you know what? Everything I've learned and all these wonderful discussions and all this super inspirational presentation, I am not just going back home happy about myself. I'm going back to every single board that I belong to and really trying to share and to give what I've received in those events. So what I do hope is that that's what we're all doing, and I'm sure we're all doing that. It is really forming this group of people, and when we are together, what we do is we create this energy together, then after that goes and benefits the larger world that we all belong to.